Good afternoon, Dan. Nice to be with you.
Nice to speak with you. Tell us a little bit about your legislation, because I do agree this is something that is not discussed when individuals, when there are all of these conversations taking place in Washington, D.C. about what can be done to prevent atrocities of this kind in the future. And everyone, especially in the media, seem to overlook a common denominator, that every single one of these individuals, they were on these psychotropic drugs. All of them would have, had it been reported, would have been placed on that ICS database and denied a firearm purchase because of their mental instability. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, my view is this is the one area where really something can be done that can make a big difference. You're absolutely right. Anybody that does the kinds of things that you just went through that litany, from Blacksburg, Virginia, to Aurora, Colorado, to Tucson, Arizona, to Sandy Hook, has a behavioral disorder, a mental health problem. They haven't figured out how to control that problem, and then you wind up with a tragic result. And so really looking at a couple of different ways. One is to look at the community federally qualified health center model that's done so well in our state. This is something that really has emerged in the last 20 years in a way that serves so many Missourians. And how do you successfully combine behavioral health with other kinds of health care in a community that people can have access to? And so last week I was at Betty Jean Kerr's People's Health Center there in St. Louis. Today I was at the Kreider Mental Health Facility and the Kreider Health Center, in Wentzville. Started out as a behavioral health center that then added the federally qualified health center component to it. And I think the time is right and the model is right. The federally qualified center model is right. And the Senate committee that deals with health issues at the end of last month had the first hearing focused on mental health since 2007. I mean, clearly this is something people don't talk about unless they have to. And now's the time when, frankly, we ought to take advantage of the moment and see if we can't find a solution here that really will help solve this problem.
And one of the proposals that is included in this legislation that you're working on with a number of other, your colleagues, including Marco Rubio, is to awareness to better identify mental illness. And in the case of Tucson with Jared Loughner, everyone just thought he was, he had problems. The college recognized, Pima Community College recognized that he was mentally unstable, which is why they barred him until he had a clean bill of health. But I'm wondering if one of the reasons why his fellow students in his classes didn't go and report him is whether or not they realized that they were dealing with someone who was mentally ill. And that's something that this addresses.
Well, it does, and there's this mental health first aid concept that actually Missouri's been one of the leading states in, is something that Kelly Ayotte and I are doing with other members of the Senate. Marco's involved in some of these efforts to be sure that we're more properly sharing this information, that where you have a likely violent outcome to a mental health problem, or what you just mentioned. I think in almost every single case that you or I, either one, have talked about in the last 5 minutes, somebody in the community had said, don't come on our facility, but that wasn't generally shared. Like the community college security people said, we don't want you here, but nobody told the police that this was a guy that they had concerns about. So how do you share that information? How do you make it available as part of a criminal background check if there's been any criminal behavior involved or threatened criminal behavior involved? And how do you do that in a way that still protects people's privacy but gets the information out there that you need to be sure that any weapon can be a deadly weapon? It's the attitude of the person that's using that weapon is the one thing that's consistent.
Right. Exactly, and especially with the Tucson situation, because that where it is where it seemed to be the ball was most egregiously dropped, and there were reports that Sheriff Dupnick over at the Pima County Sheriff's Office that they had been notified twice of this situation with Lawton at the college.
Yes.
But it does you hit on something. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, because how do you have law enforcement address something like this if the individual is estranged from their family, or their family isn't doing it? They're of age, so they can, they have to commit themselves or seek help themselves and take their own medication. How do you, and does this bill go in and address that, have law enforcement be able to assess individuals who perhaps are mentally unstable without violating their privacy?
Well, there's legislation that clearly makes it easier. The Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Act that would make it easier for information that is involving past criminal behavior to be in the system. Somebody has had criminal problems because of their mental health and their stability, and they're out on parole, or they're back out in the community. How are you sure that information is out there? We have information about past child abusers and predators and that sort of thing, and that's understood to be an important thing for the community, for people to know that. And so just information sharing is important, but just access to services that people don't have, having mental health first aid programs available so that the teachers and others have an opportunity to take a short course in figuring out what kinds of things to look for. And if the teacher's wrong when they link that student up, to have a chance to sit down with someone who's a behavioral psychologist or a psychiatrist, all they do is find out, no, this young man or woman is fine. Their class problems are related to something else. There are things we can do here that will make a lot of sense in the community, and I think we can deliver that in an effective way. And frankly, I think that's the area that is going to most likely produce real results. I know the media and the White House love to have this debate about the Second Amendment, but frankly, that's not going to be a debate that produces much in the way of change, because the Second Amendment protects people's ability to have firearms, to be lawful gun owners, to not turn in weapons that there's no reason you shouldn't have, to not have a registry of weapons. I don't think any of that is likely to happen, and I think that there's a real chance in the mental health field that we can see something happen that really helps us anticipate these problems before they occur.
Right. Last quick question I have for you, Senator, just to change the course for a moment. The Hagel confirmation. How likely do you think it's going to be that I think it's been reported votes next week to confirm him?
Well, I think that probably happens. The vote last week was to give more time for Senator Hagel to respond to requests for information, and I think some of that's happened. I know Senator Graham over the weekend said that he was satisfied on an issue that he wasn't satisfied on middle of last week, that he had an explanation that he thought was satisfactory. I'm not going to vote to confirm Senator Hagel as Secretary of Defense. I think the next Secretary of Defense is going to have more impact on the next 25 years of what we do as a country militarily than anybody's had in a long time. But I do think the president has some capacity to get the people to do these jobs that are there as long as he's there. I see confirming a cabinet secretary a lot different in terms of the standard it should take than confirming a judge who's going to be there as long as that judge is alive. That's a different kind of confirmation. So I don't intend to vote for Senator Hagel, but my guess is he will get the majority that it will take to be confirmed, unless something happens in the next week in the information that's been asked for that creates more reason not to confirm it.
Right, absolutely. Senator Roy Blunt, we appreciate you coming on with us this afternoon, and also for your work on raising awareness as well with the mental illness issue with the news of these latest tragedies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dana. See you soon.
Okay, talk again soon. Thanks.